Hey, what's up, boys? Welcome to the podcast. If you want your questions featured in the next podcast, so leave your questions under this one. And to know if your question will be answered, I will like your question. But anyway, let's hop right into the podcast. All right, what's up, boys? Sick Trippy here. I'm a little bit under the weather. I had no energy yesterday because I felt so bad. That is why you didn't get the podcast yesterday. But you'll get it today. It'll probably be tonight by the time you upload it because, sometimes YouTube takes forever to upload videos. I don't know why. It doesn't even matter about your internet, service. If YouTube just decides to take a long time to upload your video, it's just going to take a long time. It doesn't matter what you do. Anyway, so, I'm a little sick. So if you hear me sniffling or even if I cough or wheeze a little bit, just bear with me, okay? I'm not sure what it is. I hope it's not the C word. I can't say it because, YouTube is kind of weird about that. And I don't want to get shadow banned. But anyway, let's jump right into the podcast. And we're going to hop straight into the main event only because, I'll briefly touch over what happened on the main card. To me, the main card got very disinteresting to the amount of pullouts, man. I'm not going to lie. Rafael Dos Anjos versus Renato Moicano was very unappetizing, man. Once I heard that was the match that they booked to replace Islam, I just wasn't having it. I wasn't interested. And the fight went about just as I proclaimed it to be. It was going to be a Rafael Dos Anjos domination because not only does Moicano struggle with his gas tank period and he's just not very good in my opinion. It's my opinion. He took this fight on literally less than a week's notice, so I knew that Dos Anjos was going to dominate this fight. Literally an easy win for him. Yes, the 5th round got dicey, but dog, they should have stopped that fight before he even got to the 5th round. But it is what it is. They didn't. Renato Moicano definitely earned my respect. I said he's not very good, but as you guys know, I always say this, he would beat the piss out of me. So, any pro fighter would beat the piss out of me, male or female. So, anyway, moving on. My boy Kevin Holland won. That's also good. It was a very dicey first round. Really dicey, actually. I thought that was going to play out for the majority of the fight. I thought he was just going to continue to get dominated. Man, that man needs to get more technical, man. Once again, I don't want to be one of the trolls that end up on one of his OnlyFans videos getting beat up. That's not what I'm trying to do. But what I'm just saying is that I just call it as a spade, man. The guy is not technical. The guy just kind of makes things happen on the feet. It looks like he doesn't fight by a game plan. Although I will say this fight, it looks like he finally fought by a game plan. But it's just like he just seems like he's not a game plan fighter, man. He needs to get better at that because not only, dude, Oliveira dominated that first round. He dominated it. It looked like he momentarily dropped Kevin Holland, even though it wasn't a knockdown, in my opinion. It wasn't that Holland was rocked. He caught a kick, and then he threw a punch, and then it knocked Holland off balance. It wasn't necessarily, he got rocked anyway. But Kevin Holland landed a big punch and knocked him out in the second round. I knew eventually that was going to happen, but I was just worried, what if it doesn't? Because, Oliveira's old, man. But anyway, now we can move on. Oh, I guess I got to talk about Greg Hardy a little bit. Okay. Greg Hardy gets beat again. No surprise there. Anybody with decent mixed martial arts skills is going to beat Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy gets by because he's big, strong, and powerful. That's it. You get this guy fighting actual guys who are seasoned. I don't even care how old they are. The dude could fight Alexei Olenek, and he will get beat, bro. It's just like anybody who has any experience in mixed martial arts and has a legit skill, such as Spivak's well-roundedness and Alexei Olenek, any of these guys, dude, they're going to beat him. If you have a certain skill, a certain trait that you came into the sport as, if you are a legit elite fighter, you're going to beat Greg Hardy, is what I'm trying to say. Greg Hardy is not an elite fighter. I don't even know why the UFC was so heavy to sign him and keep giving him main card positions like he's like they're trying to build him up like some star. Sure, you can do that, but you got to keep feeding him cans, because he can beat a few cans, but that's only going to last for so long. You try to give that guy any type of elite fighter, if they're elite in any way, they're going to beat him. And that's just the harsh truth about it. The guy is an athlete, but just because you're an athlete will not necessarily translate into elite skill. That's just how it is. Anyway, so now we can talk about the main event. So, Colby Covington dominated Jorge Masvidal. So, what can I say about this? It went literally almost as I planned it to go. The only thing that I got wrong is that I thought it'd be a little more close. The fight was that 50-44, 50-45. I thought that it would be 49-46 unanimously. But no, Jorge didn't compete to the extent that I thought he was at all. And it was just because it was a genius game plan by Covington. A lot of people said that the fight was boring. I actually didn't find it that boring. It wasn't just exciting. There was moments where it was, but the card itself wasn't that exciting, if I'm being real, to be honest with you. These Vegas cards has really been crapping the bed recently since 269. 269 was probably the best card of the year, in my opinion. 2021, that is. But, lately the UFC has been putting on dull pay-per-view events, and that's not necessarily their fault. It's more so just the fighters not performing to the way that they're supposed to. But anyway, so Colby Covington dominated Jorge Masvidal, and not only did he dominate him in the wrestling, he dominated him on the feet. Once again, the reason why he dominated on the feet is not because Colby is the better striker. To all you casuals that are going to continue saying this, Colby is not a better striker than Masvidal. He's not even close to that level. The reason why he outstruck Masvidal is because Masvidal was worried about the takedown and the man was gassing out. That first round was a complete wash. And I knew the fight was over after that first round. I was like, man, Jorge can't stuff a takedown while he's fresh. He's not going to be able to stuff the takedowns in the third, fourth, and fifth, man. There's just no way. And that was more shocking to me. Dana White at the post-fight press conference said, Jorge Masvidal's gas tank held up better than I thought it was, and his takedown defense held up better than I thought it did. I was like, what are you talking about? Did you watch the fight? Because I got the complete opposite. I was like, man, I expected Jorge to win 2 out of the 5 rounds and possibly push a third and give a competitive third, but I thought Colby would edge it out. No, this man lost arguably all 5 rounds, to be honest. Yeah, that big punch happened. I would say that he won the second. It was really close, but he landed the more damaging blows and outstruck Covington in moments. Colby really, for that round, just held him against the fence and just took his back, etc., etc. But Colby didn't have many big moments in the second round, so you can give it to Masvidal 10-9. But, dude, it wouldn't even matter. He got dominated every other round outside of the second, and arguably you could still give that round to Colby Covington 10-9. I personally think Masvidal low-key didn't win a single round. But, that's the name of the game. But, man, Colby's wrestling proved to be way too much. That is just what it is. And Masvidal's conditioning and wrestling did not hold up to the extent that I thought it was. He didn't go to the body shots as much as I thought he would. The dude was headhunting majority of the time. His striking looked decent in areas, but it didn't even matter. The guy couldn't defend a single takedown. And once he got to the ground, Colby just controlled him. And you want to know something that got pointed out to me? And yes, this is tough for me to admit myself because I'm not the biggest Covington fan. But Colby proved to be the better wrestler than Kamaru Usman, in my opinion. Because Usman struggled to take Masvidal down, even while being bigger and stronger than Masvidal, and couldn't control him. Anytime Usman did get him down, Jorge would pop right back up. So Colby is better on the ground than Usman, is what this showed me. Technique-wise, he's better. Is he more effective? Yeah, to be honest, because Colby proved that. His wrestling is more effective than Usman's because Colby can take you down and control you. Usman struggled. Not saying that Usman can't control people on the ground. What I'm saying is that they both have similar opponents. Yes, Jorge took the fight on 6 days' notice the first time, and sure, you can accumulate that to Usman also doing the same thing, and Usman didn't prepare for wrestling, etc., whatever. But they had a second fight. And Usman still couldn't hold Masvidal down. Yes, he ended up knocking him out, giving him probably the more impressive win. But it still stands that Usman wasn't able to control him, despite him being bigger and stronger than both Covington and Masvidal. Now, I know people are going to say, well, how can you say that when Usman stuffed every single one of Covington's takedowns? Well, Usman isn't as good as a wrestler, but he is still close, you know what I mean? So Usman was able to defensively wrestle with Covington. That's all it takes, is just to be close. You don't even have to be as good of a wrestler offensively to be able to stuff takedowns. That's not how that works. I'm pretty sure if Colby was a lightweight, Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler would be able to stop Colby's takedowns as well. It's just that you can't, I don't even know. It's like some guys have elite takedown defense and other guys don't. It's just how it is. Masvidal doesn't have elite takedown defense. Another narrative that I've been saying is that what if the knee didn't land on Ben Askren? would Masvidal still have beaten Askren? And my answer to that is absolutely. Masvidal would have still probably knocked Askren out, actually, because Askren has better ground control than both Usman and Covington. Remember that. Askren is really good at controlling guys on the mat. And he has a very funky and even more complex wrestling style than Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. Remember that. But Askren is just nothing on the feet, man. And you guys are going to get mad at me when I say this, but I think that I can outbox Ben Askren. I have enough boxing experience to outbox Ben Askren. And I am nowhere near the level of a pro fighter. I know how to fight, and I can beat up the average man, but I am nothing near a pro fighter, you know. But Askren's striking is just so subpar. The guy got knocked out by Jake Paul, man, and that should just show you. And I know Woodley got knocked out too, but dude. So basically, what I'm saying is that Askren's stand-up is just not there. He would have got washed by Jorge. Period. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked a little bit. So, yeah, man, Covington, dude, Jorge's gas tank was shockingly bad, and his wrestling defense, man. And I don't know if that's more so due to the wrestling of Colby, or is it more so due to the fact that Jorge is 38 years old and, you know, kind of, the game's kind of passing him up a little bit. Because we're going to talk about what should be next for him. As for Colby Covington, yes, he won, but the weird thing is that the man is calling out Dustin Poirier. I just don't get that. Yeah, sure. This is where my video still stands valid, man. I'm not saying that Covington is overrated. If anything, this fight proved that the guy is as good as people say he is. He's not overrated by any means. But I just don't know why this guy won't fight top-level competition. And I feel like it's because, yeah, these names have more money in it, sure. But it's like, I just don't think that he wants to risk losing again. Because Gilbert Burns is a nightmare matchup for him. Khamzat Chimaev is a nightmare matchup for him. Vicente Luque not as much, and neither is Leon Edwards, but the guy won't fight either of those. He keeps declining it. And it's weird to me, man. And it's like, if you really want to prove yourself as the best, beat these guys that Usman are beating. Because I tell you guys that they're two separate fighters, you know what I mean? But I really want to see Covington versus Burns, man. I really want to see Colby prove himself to being the second best welterweight in the world. Because even if he can beat all those guys that I just named, I still don't think he'll be able to beat Usman due to the fact that he won't be able to outstrike him due to the power advantage. And he's already tried twice. He's tried both ways, the overwhelming pace style and the more patient style. If Usman keeps evolving his stand-up, there's no reason why Usman should lose to Covington, whether they fight 5 times, you know. But, yeah, you know, so. And another thing is that I think Covington knows that those are easy wins for him. I mean, come on. Dustin is smaller than Jorge. He doesn't hit as hard as Jorge. And arguably has even worse takedown defense than Jorge Masvidal. And they're very similar on the ground. Like, Dustin and Jorge's black belts, in my opinion, go hand in hand. Literally, Dustin's only chance in that fight is a knockout or that guillotine choke. And those are both Hail Marys, in my opinion. So Colby would dust Dustin. I mean, it's not even, in my opinion, that's less competitive than him versus Jorge. So for him to call out Dustin, it's like, dude, that makes no sense. I know you have a grudge match and you're trying to sell, but like, dude, Dustin, please, for the sake of God, for the love of God, do not accept this fight. Do not go try and fight Covington, man. Do not. And to all the people that are trying to encourage Dustin to fight him and saying, oh my gosh, like, go fight him. You talked all this. No, bro. The guy is out of your weight class. And the only thing that's going to do is just, you're not going to hear the end of it the same way that Jorge is, you know. Anyways, so what should be actually next for Colby? I just want to see him fight a contender, man. I just really want to see him either fight Gilbert Burns or fight somebody, bro. Fight somebody that will give you legit credit. Dude, if that fight with Masvidal would have been close, like how I thought, and it was very similar to the RDA fight, which I really thought it was. I thought Jorge was going to show up in better wrestling shape and just in better shape, period, than that. But if that fight happened to be close, I would have struggled to give Colby, like, necessary credit. Yeah, you beat Jorge Masvidal, but you barely beat him, you know what I mean? But he dominated Jorge. Jorge is still a really good fighter, man, and he dominated a really good fighter. So Colby is really good, man. He's really good, and it's going to be hard for any of these contenders to beat him. That is why it's odd that he won't take the fights. It's very odd. Even if it is, dude, just negotiate you more money if that's what you're worried about. You want to get a money fight, just negotiate you more money, you know? As for Jorge, man, he's one of the top paid athletes. I think he signed a new deal, and now he's top 5 most paid athletes in UFC history or something like that. Dude, that's really good. And top 2 is Conor and Izzy. So that's really good, man. It's because they trust in the pay-per-view marketability of Jorge Masvidal. Now, this is going to hurt his marketability, man. It really is. He's on a 3-fight and arguable dominant loss streak, you know. It's not looking good for him, at least not at welterweight. The man is too old to make lightweight again. Where does he go? And where he should go is either retirement, and that pains me to say it, or money fights, man. Money fights. Fight some of these guys. Maybe go, no joke, go try and get that loss back to Damian Maia. Maybe fight Wonder Boy, even though there's a chance that you lose that one in another humiliating way. Fight. I would say, dude, there's no point in fighting contenders. There's no point in fighting Leon Edwards anymore unless he gets absolutely mauled by Usman. There's no point of chasing the title anymore because you've lost to Usman and Covington, the 2 top best guys in the division. Wrestling and grappling control was your weakness in this fight, so you should probably stay away from Gilbert Burns, you know. On top of that, Gilbert Burns could knock you out. He has the power that Colby doesn't have to knock you out again on the feet. So, you know, I just don't see a lot of necessary ways back to the title, man, unless he can get him some rematches in there. If he got a rematch with Colby down the line and he beats Colby, then yes, I can see an arguable title shot. But with the guy aging, bro, I just don't see that anymore, you guys, sadly. So I think, yeah, you know, maybe try and get that loss back to Damian Maia. I don't know what Damian Maia is doing. I think he's retired. I don't know. Maybe fight Robbie Lawler, but y'all 2 are good friends, so I don't know if you'd want to do that. Dude, if Nick Diaz tries to come back to welterweight, dude, fight Nick Diaz. Who knows? Or fight Nate Diaz. Get a rematch with Nate Diaz if Nate Diaz is down for it. I mean, there's some guys in there that you could possibly fight, but I would say stay away from the contenders, man. Especially these up-and-coming guys like the Daniel Rodriguez's and all these type of dudes, man. Because the last thing you want to do is be the old guy getting knocked out by the new kids on the block, bro. So, yeah, that should be it. He should look for money now and try to get his marketability back. Because if he beats guys in that order, maybe he fights Damian Maia on a fight night card or something. He knocks out Damian Maia. He beats Nate Diaz dominantly again. And then he fights, I don't know, like a Robbie Lawler or somebody. He fights a few legends, you know what I mean? And he beats those guys. His marketability will be back. Then the UFC can throw up in another contender fight and try to build it up. Try to maybe get a Covington rematch. Try to build it up if Colby goes on a loss streak or something like that. And then lose to Colby again, you know? But at least you get another payday in there. But yeah, man, it's not looking too bright for Jorge is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, let's move on to these questions. Okay, so from what it looks like, we have 2 questions. Guys, this is why it's important. If I missed your question for this podcast, it's probably because you didn't comment it under the podcast video, like how I laid out the instructions. If you comment it under random YouTube videos and you just label it questions for podcasts, there's a chance that I might miss it. And that is why I like to have them all under one thing, okay? So comment your questions under this podcast, under this video, and then I will like your question. That way I can keep track of all the questions, okay? But anyway, it looks like we have 2 questions. So the first questions come from Hack You, and he basically asks, how do you think Conor McGregor's career would have played out had he been active this whole time? So this is a very interesting question, and pretty much that's so hard because Conor was so good when he was active, but you really got to think how would his title defenses would have gone, and it's pretty evident that after that Eddie Alvarez fight, he probably would have fought Nate Diaz in that trilogy. They were talking about it at the time. Then after Diaz, it probably would have been Ferguson, and because Ferguson had the interim title. And then after Ferguson, it probably would have been Khabib. So to answer your question, I think Conor would have had successful title defenses under his belt. I think he would have never went back down to featherweight, actually. So featherweight would have played out how it did. but I think he would have fought Nate Diaz in the trilogy. An active Conor would beat Nate Diaz, and it would be more sound. It'd be a close fight still because of how bad the matchup is for Conor. But I think Conor would easily win 3 of the 5 rounds again. And then I believe that he would have fought Tony Ferguson after that. An active Conor beats Tony Ferguson, and I've always said this. Yes, Tony Ferguson can step on the gas and gas Conor out, but Conor will only gas out is if you're making him be the nail. Conor, with an active Conor, a motivated Conor, meaning he would have worked on his gas tank, etc., especially after that Diaz fight. Basically what I'm saying is that Diaz trilogy fight would have been a good warm-up for Tony Ferguson, because Tony can't, in a way, Tony's pressure is different than Nate's pressure. Nate uses a lot of clinching, gasses you out faster. Tony Ferguson just turns into a walking punching bag and tries to walk you down for like majority of the 5 rounds. It's hard to say because Tony could always submit a tired Conor, especially at that point in Tony's career. But I've always said it. I believe that Conor McGregor would have beat Tony Ferguson. I really do, because Tony is just too good of a matchup for Conor up until Conor gets tired, I believe that Conor would have beaten Tony probably 4 out of the 5 rounds. No joke. An active Conor would have probably beat Tony Ferguson. Tony would have a dominant 5th round, though, almost finishing Conor. Anyways, then after that, I believe after Ferguson, he would have fought Khabib, and I think any version of Conor would lose to Khabib. I hate to say that, man, because I know a lot of guys were like, oh, Conor was this, Conor was that. Conor never had good takedown defense. Conor also struggled against wrestlers. Conor also has had a gas tank efficiency, defensive his whole career. So he would have lost to Khabib inevitably, So I believe that Conor would have had 2 successful title defenses in his career up until losing to Khabib. And then if he lost to Khabib, I believe after that, he probably would have fought Mayweather still. So, it would have been, it basically would have prolonged the inevitable. Conor would have done good up until what happened in his career now would have happened. And then let's just say he stayed active even after the Floyd Mayweather thing. I think he would have never lost to Dustin Poirier. Especially if he stayed active, he would have never lost to Dustin Poirier. He probably would have regained himself another title shot, but I think he just would have lost in a rematch to Khabib, man. So basically, what I'm saying is, after the Khabib fight, he would have never regained the belt until Khabib retired. And let's just say he stayed consistent this whole time. These new wave of guys, he probably would have got submitted by Charles, or he probably would knock out Charles. So yeah. So basically, it'd be pretty good up until he runs into Khabib, up until he runs into his nightmare. Same thing with Makhachev. I actually think Makhachev would finish Conor faster than Khabib can, because Makhachev is so flow-like, so technique-based, when Khabib is smasher-facing, you know what I mean? Anyways, moving on. All right, so our last question comes from my boy Dragon's Rage, and I want to say something real quick about these guys. So there is always a few guys that consistently ask questions on each podcast, and I want to say thank you for doing that, because if you guys didn't, likely we would have no questions, and the podcast would just be 15 minutes long. But anyway, if you guys want your questions answered, remember, leave them under this one. Anyway, so he basically asked, assuming you watch Bellator, what do you think of Michael Venom Page, and how would he do in the UFC? Assuming he fights at his regular weight class, which is 170, I believe, over there, dude, he would struggle with, he'd be a top 10 fighter, I'll say that. But he loses to majority. Khamzat Chimaev murders him. Gilbert Burns murders him. Jorge Masvidal, it would be a more interesting fight, but I think Jorge catches him, man. Michael Venom Page is very explosive, and he's very tricky. But I don't think he's that skilled. I don't. I think he fights... Dude, the guy fights nothing but cans. Imagine Sean O'Malley if Sean O'Malley could earn a title shot by fighting the opponent he's fighting today. That is Michael Venom Page, bro. And I would argue Sean O'Malley is more skilled. He is. There isn't no arguing. He is more skilled than Michael Venom Page. Venom Page would be a fighter's fighter. He'd literally be top 10. I think he'd at least be top 10. But he's not beating anybody in the top 10, man. All you got to do is grab a single leg. Grab a single leg or catch him with a punch. That's it. The guy can't be the nail. You catch him with a good punch, you might put him to sleep. If you take him down and pound on him, he won't be able to get back up. And that is the biggest holes in his style. And the main reason why these guys lose to him, these cans, is because they literally let this guy do whatever he wants in the center of the cage. He's doing dance moves, he's doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and he's lands something random and these guys walk straight into it. It's because these guys are literally uneducated and unexperienced cans that he's fighting, man. I mean, seriously, I literally wouldn't doubt Damian Maia's chances against Michael Venom Page, bro. There's literally old guys in the UFC I think can give this guy a run for his money. So, to answer his question, dude, he loses to Colby, he loses to Usman, they all murder him, Jorge Masvidal catches him, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson exposes him for his lack of technical ability. So, basically, I think that Bilal Muhammad rapes him, excuse my language, Vicente Luque knocks him out. Dude, all these guys give him a tough time, bro. He does not compete with the top 8 in the UFC, bro. Same thing with Douglas Lima. I've been saying this about these Bellator guys, man. Sure, they have good guys. I think AJ McKee could be a good prospect in the featherweight division. Same thing with damn, I forgot his name. The guy AJ McKee beat. Oh my gosh, I forgot his name. The Brazilian. I think Pitbull. I think Pitbull could do good. And obviously you see Michael Chandler and his success in the UFC. I think these guys can do. I think they do have some legit guys, but their stars like Michael Venom Page is not very good. I hate to say it, but anyway, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, let me know. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, do what you need to do. If you want your questions answered, once again, I sound like a broken record. Leave your questions under this podcast to know if your question will be answered. I'd like it. The only questions I don't answer really is if they're just plain out weird or offensive or anything bad. I won't answer it, but I pretty much answer everybody. But it's been your boy Trippy, and I'm out, man.